Here from Stoney Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about when and how to harvest your sweet potatoes. We're also going to cover a little bit about what we need to do to cure and store them as well. Before we get started, please make sure you get subscribed to my channel. Click that notification bell so you get notice every time I release new videos. Go follow us over on Instagram. We'd love to have you join us there as well. It is mid-fall. We're just a couple of days away from our first frost. Weather is changing. We can see in the forecast that we're going to have frost coming up in just like 2 days from now. And so it's time for us to get out and get our sweet potatoes harvested. And so I thought I'd do a video today, show you how to do it, talk a little bit about when we should actually be harvesting our sweet potatoes. So the first thing I want to talk about then is when. The when is kind of a little bit harder to judge than it is with regular potatoes. With regular potatoes, tops die, fall over, then we know it's time to harvest. With sweet potatoes, more involved. The tops don't die off nearly as much, and so it's a lot different. So 3 things to help you judge when to harvest your sweet potatoes. Number 1, when you plant them, whatever variety you plant is going to give you an estimated time to maturity, okay? So for example, we planted Beauregard sweet potatoes this year, and they are 90 to 110 days is the harvest time on those. So we know that we don't even want to think about harvesting until we reach that mark. And so I know that it's, you know, that we don't even worry about it until we get to that stage. So that's the first thing you do, is judge based on time. But if the weather is holding out for you, or you live somewhere that has a longer growing season, then you can continue to let those potatoes stay in the ground and they'll get bigger and more. And so you don't have to harvest them at 100 days like it says on the package when you got your slips. You can wait and let them grow longer and bigger, and that will happen as we go throughout the season. So the next sign is when you start to see the leaves changing colors. And you can see here, we're starting to see a lot of yellowing coming into the color on these leaves. Compared to like these, you're seeing that there's some big changes in the color. We're starting to kind of see those plants fade a little bit. That's a good sign that it's time to harvest those sweet potatoes. And then the last thing is frost. It's best if you harvest your sweet potatoes just before you get your first frost. It's not the end of the world if you miss that and you actually get frost on your sweet potato vines. It's probably going to be okay. It'll kill the vines for sure, but it will, your potatoes are going to be okay. But once that frost has killed the vine, you want to get out there and get them harvested right away, because the one thing we don't want is to have those potatoes in the ground get frozen at all. So I try to get mine harvested just before our first frost comes. And so we know that we've got temperatures that are going to be in the 30s coming up in the next couple of days. And so it is time for us to get these guys out of the ground, okay? So let's get them dug up. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of take care of all these vines. Now, as long as your vines are not showing any sign of disease, these are amazing to put into your compost. So we don't want to waste these vines. And so you definitely want to get those in the compost bin. But we want to kind of make it a little bit easier on us to actually get in here and harvest. And so you find the base of a plant, and then we're just going to kind of trim these vines off, pull them away as best we can, so that when we're ready, we can actually get in here to the plant itself and dig up those potatoes. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the whole patch here and pull out these vines so that we can get these dug up. So the skins on our sweet potatoes are very delicate at this stage. And so we want to make sure that we're doing our best to not scrape, scratch them. Obviously, we don't want to run them through. I always think that it's best to use a digging fork. I seem to cause less damage with a digging fork than I do with a shovel. And what we want to do is we want to start back away and kind of pry up so that we're lifting those potatoes. So here's my plant. That's the top of my plant. And I'm back here a good foot away, and we're going to kind of just pry this up and start prying up that soil so that we're for sure not going to be digging up those potatoes. And here we go. Beautiful. There. Look at that. So those are amazing. Again, the variety is Beauregard. And we're going to just go through. I've got a whole row here that we're just going to go through and do that same thing. We want to stay back away so that we don't damage those potatoes as we're pulling them up. Okay guys, we had to bring this inside because that storm I talked about, it came, and it came hard. I'm glad you saw. My wife and I ended up putting up a light and finishing harvesting our potatoes the night that we were filming this video, and I'm glad we did because that storm came in later. We've been drenched ever since. We've had almost 48 hours of continuous rain, so it's a little soggy. It's also dropped from mid-70s to today. It's not even going to get into the 50s, and so I'm glad that I got these guys harvested when I did. This is our harvest for the year, and I'm pretty happy with it. So we ended up with 55 pounds of Beauregard sweet potatoes. For those of you that are wondering, because I know some people will ask, that came from about 20 slips. So we planted about 20, 25 slips. We did lose a few in June because we had kind of a heat wave and we lost a few. But overall, that was about 20 slips that we planted in the ground. That gave us this 50 to 55 pounds. I'm really overall happy with them. There's a few that are a little bit funky, cracks and things, but overall, really good quality, and they look really nice. So I'm happy with them. So our next step is we have to cure our sweet potatoes. Now, if you were to take one of these sweet potatoes and bake it up right now, you would be disappointed. The classic kind of sweet flavor of sweet potatoes isn't there when we first dig them out of the ground. So when we first pull them out of the ground, they're actually kind of plain. They don't have that sweetness to them. We actually need to let them cure for about 2 or 3 weeks in order for that sweetness to come. And the starches get converted into sugars and we get that sweetness that we like. So if I were to eat one right now, wouldn't be all that great. The other thing that curing does for you is it heals all of the scratches and damage that you caused while you were harvesting. So no matter how hard I tried, I did get some that I ended up scraping the skin or poking a hole in them or something. All of that will heal during the curing process. Those skins will harden and those scrapes and scratches will heal and prepare the potatoes for long-term storage. Now, what's the best way to cure your potatoes? It would be somewhere with relatively high humidity and about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 26 degrees Celsius. That's perfect conditions. For me, that's pretty much impossible to accomplish in the fall here in Utah. We just don't have anywhere. Right now it's under 50 degrees outside. We are going to get back into the 70s, but we'll never get back into the 80s. And so we kind of have to cheat a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. We are actually going to use some of these old grocery sacks. We want to make sure that they've got some slits in them so that we get a little air circulation. And we're going to put these sweet potatoes in just enough so that we can still keep them in a single layer. We don't want to have, them stacked on top of each other. We'll kind of tie this bag off, and that will help to keep the humidity up around these sweet potatoes. And then we're going to put them in the warmest place in our house, which happens to be our master bathroom. The master bathroom in our house is in the southwest corner. It gets kind of hit all day long with that sun, especially late in the afternoon. And that's the warmest spot in our house. It's usually 70, 75 degrees in there, no matter how cold the rest of the house is. And so we're going to take these and we're going to actually put them in our bathtub because we don't use that bathtub. And so we're going to put them in the bathtub and we're going to let them sit for about 2 or 3 weeks. That will cure them, that will get that skin to harden off and get them ready for long-term storage. That's the best that I can do here. If you have somewhere where you can hit 80 degrees and relatively high humidity, then that would be perfect. Now for long-term storage, ideal conditions would be 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 10 to 13 degrees Celsius, somewhere cool, dark, and dry. That's your best conditions. Now, again, I don't have somewhere like that that stays at 50 to 55 degrees all winter long. And so I'm going to do my best by putting them in a very cool spot in our basement. It's dark and dry and as cool as we can get it. It's going to be closer to 60 degrees, but that's the best that we can really do in our house. We should be able to keep these in pretty good shape for 2 to 3 months. If you can hit that ideal, then you should be able to get sweet potatoes to last about 4, maybe even 5 months in storage. Ultimately, though, you want to get after eating them relatively quickly. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you get some of these guys that are broken. So again, I was trying really hard, but this one happened to break off as I was pulling it out of the ground. So we want to eat this one first, okay? Then any others that are damaged, and then we want to tackle these small ones. The little ones are going to go wiggly faster than the big ones, and so we want to eat these up. Just peel them, turn them into fries, something like that, but get those little ones used up first and then tackle the bigger ones. By then, those will have a nice sweet flavor to them and should be in pretty good shape. Okay, so again, 3 to 4 months. Ideal conditions, you might get a little bit more than 4 months. All right, so that is when to harvest, how to cure, and how to store your sweet potatoes. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before we go, please make sure that you check out the Gardening Academy, which is our monthly membership service where we grow great gardeners. And I would love to have you come and join us. Wintertime is a perfect time for you to come and join the Gardening Academy because we have a million different courses. Okay, not a million, but we're over 40 different courses there for you now where you can learn more about gardening and become a better gardener. So check out the link down in the description below and come join us over in the Gardening Academy. All right, that's all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Happy gardening.